Hey, what's up you guys? Lionblaze here, coming back at you with their first ever top 10 video. Well, first top 10 video since about 4 years ago, but I'd prefer not to count that. Anyway, yep, here I am, finally back on this strange creator of a YouTube channel to talk about what else but Warrior Cats. Warrior Cats was the start of my YouTube channel, and what kind of got me to get serious about writing art in general, at least in the beginning. But the Warriors fandom is not a perfect one. There's always quite a bit of discourse going on in the community, especially on which characters are good and bad and who deserves to be hated. However, sometimes there are cats who just get thrown under the bus, metaphorically speaking. Cats who haven't really earned their status as horrible and hateable, but are hated by the fandom regardless. Today, I've compiled a list of 10 of these cats that I think are hated way too much, and just don't deserve it. And I hope you enjoy. Number 10, Daisy. What do people really hate about Daisy? Daisy is a respectable, kind-hearted nursery queen who I don't really think did anything wrong. I think that a lot of the hatred for Daisy may stem from her relationship troubles. First off, there was Daisy with Spiderleg, which, yeah, not really a good couple. Spiderleg was kind of a bad mate for her. But it's not really her fault she had a neglectful mate the first time around. Secondly, there was her attempted affair with Cloudtail, but after he told her no, she stopped pursuing him and respected his wishes, which can't be said for other certain ThunderClan cats. Another reason maybe that she doesn't contribute to the clan, which is no, just no. Daisy has a very important job as a nursery queen who, just like FernCloud, who is also strangely hated for some reason, helps to look over all the kids born into ThunderClan. Kids are the lifeblood of the clan, and it's useful to have someone around to watch them at all times. So, all in all, yeah, I don't get the Daisy hate. She seems fine to me. Number 9, Lionblaze. I don't exactly understand why people hate Lionblaze. Now, I know I seem like I'm probably pretty biased seeing as my entire online presence is named after this buff boy cat, but hear me out. Lionblaze isn't exactly hateable to me. He's not really anything, which I guess is exactly why people hate him. He's just sort of a boring and bland character, but to me that's not really something worth hating him for. Maybe his chapters in Power of Three and Omen of the Stars can get a little dull sometimes, but he's had his interesting moments too, like his time training in the Dark Forest, his misadventures with Heathertail in the tunnels, or his battle with Ashfur during his apprenticeship. He's about as well-rounded as any basic warrior cat. Maybe not a main protagonist, but not quite a background character either. He has a complex history, complex relationships, and a pretty well-rounded personality, even if that personality itself can be a bit dull sometimes. Besides, without Lionblaze, we wouldn't have the next character on this list. Speaking of... Number 8, Fernsong. Oh, Fernsong. I love Fernsong. I really don't understand how people can hate this character. I mean, I know exactly why they hate him. Because he's with Ivypool, and he's not a girl. But I don't get how they can stand to hate such a lovable guy. He's soft, he's fluffy, he's the ultimate den dad, and I just adore him. He's a great dad, a great mate, and an all-around good person. Or cat. When his kids need help, they come to him for advice. When his mate needs comforting, he's the first cat she'd go to. Heck, even the Warriors website thinks he's an amazing cat, having written 2 articles on just how great of a dad he is. He's just so wholesome and sweet, and I don't see how people can hate him, even if he's not a lesbian. Number 7, Reedshine. Hey, our first out of ThunderClan cat. If you don't know who Reedshine is the River Clan she-cat that Appledusk took as a mate, and people absolutely despise her, which I really don't get. Really, she's just as much of a victim as Mapleshade is in some rights. While she didn't lose her kits, she was definitely betrayed by Appledusk when he took Mapleshade as a side chick. He was already her mate before he took Mapleshade as a second, and the real kicker? Unless she wanted to raise her kids fatherless, she simply had to accept that Appledusk had cheated on her and continue loving him. Which she did, happily remaining loyal to her mate despite what he'd done. While it's not quite as tragic as Mapleshade's story, she is not the bad guy here. She's actually one of the only morally respectable characters in Mapleshade's vengeance, and definitely doesn't deserve all the hate she gets. Number 6, Pinestar. Now, admittedly, Pinestar isn't as hated as he used to be, which is great, because Pinestar is a great character. But there is still some Pinestar hate going on out there, and I can kinda see why, in a way. He abandoned his entire life and family just to be a fat, lazy kitty pet after all. Or maybe not. Okay, hear me out here. Pinestar was overwhelmed with the way the clans were going, and finding out his son was destined to be evil and destroy the clans as we know them, unless he literally killed him, was like the final straw. A lot of people seem to think that Pinestar leaving the clans caused Tigerstar to be evil, which may have been a factor, yeah, but it mainly contributes to his hatred for kitty pets, and thus Firestar, not his evil in general. As previously stated, Tigerstar was destined to be evil from the start. So, even if Pinestar didn't make the best decision for the clan, or for his son, he did what a lot of people do in overwhelming, life-ruining situations. He took a step back and rebooted his life. And because of this, he lived out the rest of his days happy and worry-free. It's not like he left the clan unprepared either. He left a good deputy in his place, and it wasn't like ThunderClan was completely falling apart at the time, so he wasn't dooming his clan to demise. All he did was take a step back, or several steps back, I suppose, which is sometimes necessary. Even if the cutoff isn't always clean, he basically did the best thing for him and took care of himself first, which I can kind of respect in a way. So, yeah, we stand Pinestar here. Number 5, Bramblestar. Well, it looks like we're staying in the tiger family for this one. Bramblestar, for me, is just one of those characters that I don't really feel anything about. He's just kind of a bleh character to me. He doesn't really have that much flavor or personality, and yet is made to do a bunch of important things in the plot of the story, so he's basically the problem people have with Lionblaze, but before Lionblaze even existed. However, he gets far more hate than the cat that he calls his son, and I don't really know why? He's just sort of uninteresting, not really hateable. A lot of people seem to hate him now for abusing Alderheart, or at least being a neglectful father, which I just don't see. I know the Aldershadow AU is pretty popular, but it's not canon, and Bramblestar wasn't actually that bad of a dad, at least not in The Apprentice's Quest, which at the time of writing this is the only book in A Vision of Shadows that I've actually read. He seemed to genuinely care about his son, and want what was best for him. He just didn't go about it in exactly the right way. He's not a perfect parent, but nobody really is. He's trying, though, and that's what matters. People also seem to hate him because he's just another Tigerstar clone, which I don't really find to be an issue since he was the first ever Tigerstar clone, and being a Tiger clone was an integral part of his initial story and character progression in Arc 1, which was actually the only time I found him interesting, if I'm being honest. So, yeah, don't really like Bramblestar too much, but I don't really get the hate behind him either. Number 4, Tigerheart Star. Back at it again with the Tiger clones, we have Tigerheart Star, who I'm just going to refer to as Tigerheart from this point onward because I don't exactly feel like saying that tongue twister of a name 47 times. Tigerheart is a little overhated, let's be honest. He's not necessarily a bad cat. I was one of those people who absolutely despised Tigerheart at first, as well as hating Tigerheart and Dovewing together, and even Dovewing generally. But as time's gone on, I've kinda softened up towards the buff fluff. He doesn't really seem like a bad cat to me. He started out a little arrogant and overconfident, but he's slowly formed into a more level-headed cat. He clearly cares a lot about his mate, Dovewing, too, and she cares so much for him that she moved to ShadowClan just to raise her kids with him. He must be a pretty loving and respectable guy if he managed to charm a cat so much she was willing to abandon her home for a swampland just to be with him. And sure, maybe Tigerheart is a little brick-headed sometimes, but he generally seems like a real sweetie. And maybe it's a letdown that he became leader instead of a more loyal and deserving cat, but his leadership isn't going to be the downfall of ShadowClan, either. I actually have a map script written about Tigerheart accepting his newfound role as leader, so if you want to see that in the future, comment to let me know. Number 3, Firestar. Firestar is basically the backbone of the Warriors franchise as a whole, and it wouldn't be the same without him. So I don't entirely understand why people seem to dislike him. During Arc 1 at least, Firestar was actually a very entertaining and well-developed character, going through multiple character arcs and basically reshaping the clans as we know them today. Now, I do agree that by Omen of the Stars, he was being way too overused, and his importance was being blown way out of proportion, but that's no reason to dislike his actual character. Though we don't see much of his character shining through in the later arcs, in the original arc, Firestar is an interesting and dynamic character who's allowed to grow and change, Unlike a lot of characters in the Warriors franchise, just because he's important doesn't mean he's badly written, and I wish more people would be able to see that. Number 2, Appledusk. Oh boy, Appledusk. Appledusk is a scumbag, don't get me wrong. He's a cheater, a bit of a manipulator, and can be pretty heartless sometimes. So, why is he on this list? Don't get me wrong, he deserves to be hated. Oh, absolutely. But I don't think he deserves to be as hated as he actually is. Appledusk is a generally bad cat, unlike a lot of cats on this list, but he's not near bad enough to earn the droves and droves of hate that he gets. This fandom seems to have a bit of an unholy obsession with Mapleshade, which I totally get. She's one of my favorite villains in the series, but in turn, this obsession that people have with loving Mapleshade leads to a similar obsession with hating Appledusk. A lot of people even say Appledusk deserves to be in the Dark Forest, which just isn't right. He cheated on his spouses, yeah, but the Dark Forest should be reserved for those who are truly evil, like kit murderers and child groomers. It's not Appledusk's fault that his kits with Mapleshade drowned. That was the fault of the ThunderClan leader at the time, Oakstar, for making them cross during flood season. Appledusk actively tried to save his kits. Then, when faced by his leader about this, he of course says he never cared about his kits and will forever be loyal to his clan. He needs to keep his role as a warrior and a mate to Reedshine, and would probably say anything to keep that. His actions following the death of their kits are understandable within the context of possibly getting kicked out if he doesn't do whatever he can to please the leader. Basically, he's a bad person and should be hated for his actions, but the way the fandom inflates him as being nothing but a despicable monster is just a little far. So, here we are. We made it, all the way down to number 1. But wait, there's more! I think there are some cats in the Warriors franchise that deserve a dishonorable mention. What constitutes a dishonorable mention? A dishonorable mention in this list essentially means a character that is almost unanimously hated, but fully deserves their hate. A character who no words could possibly redeem. And with that, on to the dishonorable mentions. Ashfur. Ashfur is just a bad character, I'm sorry. He isn't well written, nor is he a good person. I'll be the first to admit that back in the day, I was a total Ashfur stan. I'd get into fights in YouTube comment sections back in 2013 when the fandom was just gaining ground and Ashfur AMVs were the most popular videos in the community. I was crazy for this little guy. But looking back, I can't see why? On one hand, he's a terrible person. He tried to murder 3 children just because his ex broke up with him. He's an incel gone way, way too far. But on the other hand, he's not even well written. He's just missed potential in every regard. He could have been a fully normal and good cat, or they could have gone the fun way and turned his evil up to 11. Given him a dramatic death, burning in the flames or something, trying to kill the 3, I don't know. They could have done something better than what they did. Ashfur just reeks of missed potential, but as he stands, he's just not a good character and really deserves all the hate he gets. Rainflower. Rainflower deserves all the hate she gets for obvious reasons. Out of all the cats who are portrayed as abusive and neglectful, Rainflower actually is. She constantly taunts her son, practically disowns him after he breaks his jaw, and shows his brother Oakpaw nothing but constant praise to make him feel even worse. Brambleberry was a better mother to Crooked Star than Rainflower will ever be, and she didn't even have to try. Rainflower just sucks. Thistleclaw. Before Spotted Leaf's Heart came out, Thistleclaw actually would have made it pretty high onto this list. I was a pretty big fan of him at one point, but then Spotted Leaf's Heart decided to come into existence, and no, oh god, no. Now, a lot of people don't consider Spotted Leaf's Heart to be canon, and for the people out there who go that route and still like Thistleclaw for who he was before that, more power to you. But as he stands in the canon of the books, he's a despicable, disgusting character that deserves to rot in the Dark Forest. Breezepelt. Breezepelt is a character I'm kind of split on. I'm one of those people who actually likes Breezepelt as a character, finds him interesting, and is rooting for his redemption, even if it is a little sudden. But honestly, he deserves any hate that he gets. He tried to kill a pregnant woman and a blind man. A blind man that was in full responsibility of healing all his clanmates at the time. It's honestly kind of weird to not hate Breezepelt. He makes all of WindClan look bad by merely existing, which, as a WindClan stan myself, kinda sucks. Like I said, I still like this idiot boy, but I fully agree with hating him too. He deserves way more flack than he gets. Now that we have that out of the way, on to the number 1 spot. Number 1. Crowfeather. Crowfeather has got to be the most overhated warrior cat out there. I've never seen any warrior cat's character garner so much collective hate across the entire fandom than Crowfeather. While there are a few Crowfeather stans out there, myself included, the vast majority of the fandom seems to agree that Crowfeather is an abusive and neglectful husband and father, which is just objectively wrong. For whatever reason, Breezepelt is written like an abused or neglected kid, but in all the interactions we ever hear about or see, Crowfeather isn't either one of these things towards Breezepelt. It seems like he's doing his best as a father, and while he isn't the best mate to Nightcloud, he really only partnered with her for clout and social acceptance back into WindClan, which was honestly pretty obvious. Honestly, Crowfeather's entire family is overhated, but that's a story for another day. Either way, Crowfeather himself is hated way too much for almost no reason. Of course he'd want to distance himself from Holly, Jay, and Lion. He needs to keep loyalty to WindClan and so puts his past behind him. Of course he doesn't want to talk to Leafpool, because it would be pretty uncomfortable to talk to the woman you essentially had to divorce on the worst night of her life. Of course he doesn't have much time for a mate and kits. He's deeply devoted to being a warrior, but whenever he did get the chance to include Breespell in things like the Journey to the Mountains and Outcast, he did so, even if they didn't always get along. Honestly, Crowfeather is just a really interesting and complex character and is so well fleshed out that he actually feels real. And this is coming from someone who hasn't even read Crowfeather's trial yet. Speaking of, Crowfeather's trial has actually fixed a lot of people's gripes with Crowfeather, or just given them a deeper insight into what's going on in Crowfeather's head, so the hate is slowly beginning to ease up. But regardless of that, I still believe he has firmly earned his place as the most overhated Warriors character that there is, even if he's not hated quite as much now. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you guys like this video, feel free to check out my other content, which at the moment is mostly just infrequent animations, but that's about to change. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to drop a like, and if you really, really enjoyed the video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, if you feel so inclined anyway. If you have any suggestions for my next video, like memes you'd like to see me do, or suggestions for future top 10 videos, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I may even do a sequel to this video if it does well, so we'll see. Again, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope you all have an amazing morning, night, and afternoon. Lion Blaze, out.